So far, it doesn't seem that Justice Sotomayor has had a major impact on the court. At least so far, it seems that her decisions have been very similar to what we might expect from the justice that she replaced, Justice Souter. I think time will tell whether either her background or other aspects of her jurisprudence will make her deviate from Justice Souter, and that would be the only thing that would really change this court. It seems that Chief Justice Roberts, along with his new colleague Justice Alito, would like to move the court in a more conservative direction in a number of areas. We could think about race, we could think about government regulation, campaign finance regulation. In all of those areas, though, Justice Kennedy is necessary for the fifth vote. And so far, it seems, Chief Justice Roberts hasn't been able to convince Justice Kennedy to make a major change in where the court's going. With regard to race, this court is deeply divided. It seems that there are four justices, Chief Justice Roberts, Justice Alito, Justice Scalia, and Justice Thomas, who think that the use of race by government is almost always unconstitutional. And we can see that in a number of affirmative action decisions where they've consistently said that the government's consideration of race is unconstitutional. And then we have the four more moderate or liberal justices, Justice Stevens, Justice Ginsburg, Justice Breyer, and now it seems Justice Sotomayor, who think that sometimes it's necessary to look at race. The only way to overcome race is by acknowledging the impact of race on society, with Justice Kennedy in the middle. What will be interesting to see is whether Justice Sotomayor might be able to convince either Justice Kennedy or some of the other more conservative justices about the importance of race in society. Perhaps her life story, her experience with race and its impact on her is something that will be important for the decisions. Also, it seems that one of the things that's important for this court is that race is becoming more complicated in the United States. We used to think it was mainly black and white, and now we're becoming a multiracial society. And Justice Sotomayor, given her background as a wise Latina, might have that additional perspective to bring to the court's consideration of race. There are several cases that could lead to dramatic decisions, though it will be hard to tell. It will really depend on how they're written. There's the case about whether the Second Amendment right to bear arms is a right that's protected against state interference. In a recent landmark decision, the United States Supreme Court held that the Second Amendment meant that the federal government couldn't interfere with your right to own a handgun. And we'll see now whether the Second Amendment applies to the states. I think it's likely that the court will find that the Second Amendment does apply to the states. But the question is how broadly they'll make that decision, and depending upon the theory, could really have a major impact on how we understand constitutional rights. Similarly, there's the Citizens United case looking at the campaign finance area. That's an area where the court is sharply divided, and the retirement of Justice O'Connor has had a major impact, since Justice O'Connor generally supported government regulation in the campaign finance area. Here we have a movie, Hillary the movie, a rather unflattering portrayal of the former First Lady made during the 2008 campaign season. And the question there is whether the current campaign finance laws, which suggest that a corporation can't fund that kind of political speech, whether those will be upheld. It seems likely, based on the argument before the court's likely to strike down the specific regulation applied to that movie, but we'll see how broadly the court's willing to rule. The court might broadly rule that the government just can't regulate campaign finance at all, which would lead to a new kind of open season on money in politics. What's interesting about this term is that there are a number of cases which are potential landmarks. That is, the court could rule quite broadly and broadly remake the jurisprudence of the Constitution. In the campaign finance area, that's true. With regard to governmental power, that's true. Or the court could rule more narrowly. What we don't have yet this term is something that's clear to be a blockbuster, a major abortion case, a major death penalty case, a major religion case, where it's clear that things are going to change. So it'll be interesting to see how broadly or how narrowly this court decides cases. Here as elsewhere, it seems that it will depend on how far Justice Kennedy is willing to go. The court might issue some landmark decisions if Justice Kennedy is willing to go that far. Previously, Justice Kennedy has not been willing to sign on to major revisions of prior law, and that's why so far the Roberts Court has not really remade precedent.